Hello there. Welcome to my microeconomic series. I'm excited about this series and I'm really excited for you taking on economics. Very interesting subject. I hope you enjoy this series. And if you're facing any challenges, drop a comment, let me know. Whatever concepts you feel like I should explain further, I'll be more than happy to. Let's have a conversation. All right, my name is Mr. Mesh, and let's get right into it. Economics. What is economics? So economics is actually a human science that studies the allocation of scarce resources. So in economics, we are studying human behavior, and we are studying human behavior in light of scarcity. When we say resources are scarce, we mean that the resources are limited. They are not enough for everything that we want, which is referred to as the economic problem. This is referred to as the economic problem. So the economic problem is the problem of scarcity. At whatever level you are going to study economics, economists are preoccupied with trying to make sure that the limited or scarce or finite resources are efficiently allocated to the unlimited or infinite needs and wants of economic agents. The needs and wants of economic agents, which are individuals, yourself, households, firms, they are unlimited. What we want is unlimited, but the resources at our disposal are limited, which is the economic problem. All right. So, at whatever level you study economics, just always remember this. Economics studies the allocation of scarce resources. They should be allocated in an efficient manner. Hence, we have two branches of economics. Economics is studied at a micro level with an I, and economics is studied at a macro level with an A. Microeconomics basically looks at the smaller units of the economy. This is looking at individuals. This is looking at individuals. This is looking at firms. And this is looking at households. And at a macro level, this is a bigger picture where we now look at the aggregate economy. Aggregate means total. This term comes up a lot in your macroeconomics. So we look at, this is where the government is going to come in. And the government is preoccupied with things like unemployment, economic growth. You will see terms like GDP, which basically means gross domestic product. Don't worry too much about this now. We'll talk about this in detail later on. But the government has a couple of things that they want to deal with at a macro level in terms of dealing with the problem of scarcity. But at a micro level, let's look at you as an individual, for example. Time is limited. Time, okay? It's a resource that you don't have in abundance. So, for you to be able to allocate your time wisely, you have to make a choice. So choice comes into the heart and soul of economics. And when you make a choice, there is a trade-off. When you make a choice, there is a trade-off. All right. For instance, you have decided to study economics and you're busy watching this video now. You could have been watching your favorite soapy, watching your favorite team play, or sleeping, but you chose to study economics. You made a choice. So there is this trade-off. And from this trade-off, that's where the concept of opportunity cost comes in, which is a very important concept in economics. Economists love to talk about opportunity cost. Okay, and this economic opportunity cost is actually the value of the foregone best alternative. So this is the foregone best alternative. This is the foregone best alternative. For instance, Let's go back to your time, right? You have three things you want to do. You want to sleep, you want to study economics, you want to watch soccer, right? But because it's too cold, watching soccer is the least of your worries. You don't want to go out to the stadium in this cold. Your best alternative would be to sleep, but you decide to learn economics and watch these videos. Sleeping is your foregone best alternative, and that becomes your opportunity cost. So you make a choice. The best alternative that you forego is your opportunity cost. This is at the heart of economics. You know, in English they say you cannot have your cake and eat it too. This is something that is at the heart of economic thinking. When you have your cake, either you want to admire the cake, look at it, it's beautiful, but you can't eat it if you want to admire it. Once you eat that cake, you cannot admire it anymore. It's gone. You have made a choice. So you have that trade-off. And that's very important when it comes to economic thinking. All right. In order, when a choice has been made, economists now, they answer three important questions for them to be able to produce in an economy, to make decisions and produce. These three important questions are: one, what to produce; two, how to produce; and three, for whom to produce. These are the three important questions that economists are preoccupied with. On the what to produce, this is the allocation question. Economists want to know how do they allocate their resources. On the how to produce, this is the production question. What do they use in the production process? And for whom, this is the distribution question. Who are these final goods going to go to? For instance, when is the what? They have resources, metal, and they want to produce cars. So this is what to produce. They are allocating resources in the production of cars. How to produce is the production question. They are thinking, what methods must we use to produce efficiently, and for whom? Are these cars for individuals? Are they for the military? Are we exporting them? So this is for whom. These are the three important questions that they have to ask. All right. Now, on the how part, how do we produce? This is where they now utilize resources, and the resources are split into four categories. These resources are referred to as factors of production. These resources are referred to as factors of production, right? And there are four main factors of production. One, there is land. And this is quite broad because your land is going to include things like your weather, the land in which you till, your water bodies, like your dams and seas and so forth, and your forests, etc. These things are going to constitute land, and we assume that all factors of production are owned by households. They belong to the household. So firms, to use these factors, for instance, to use land, they're going to pay rent to the households. Two, labor is another factor of production which is owned by the households, and for labor, the firms are going to pay wages for labor. And three, there is capital. So capital is where some confusion comes in, because when you guys do accounting and business, they tell you that capital is the amount of money that is needed to start a business. In economics, capital is not money. You use money to buy capital. Capital, these are machines that are used in the production process, right? Anything that helps labor become more effective, like a tractor, like a computer. These are things that makes labor more productive, right? And capital, firms pay an interest to households on capital. The last factor of production is called entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is the other factor of production. Entrepreneurship. This factor is the factor that brings together all the other factors of production. It brings together all of them. It takes a risk with the agenda of making a profit. So entrepreneurship, they want to make a profit. They bring together all the other factors of production. All right. Now, when the firms are producing, they want to understand how many of each goods can they produce given their capacity. We utilize a very simplistic model in economics, what we refer to as the production possibility curve. Production possibility curve. I refer to this as the PPC, but some texts refer to it as a PPF. They call it a frontier, production possibility frontier. So don't let this confuse you. When they talk about a frontier or they talk about the curve, they're talking about the same thing. All right, production possibility curve, production possibility frontier, they're talking about the same thing. And what I want you to know is, one of the main assumptions that we make is that an economy is producing two goods. We are going to see that in economics we make assumptions a lot. And this is to simplify. The economy has too many moving parts. It's very abstract. But to simplify things, we make assumptions. And we relax the assumptions as you guys get to understand the economy more and more and more and more. Right. So a typical production possibility curve is going to look something like this. Because I'm a romantic, I'm going to assume that this economy produces two goods, roses and chocolate. All right. And a typical production possibility curve is going to be concave to the origin, like this. This is a concave production possibility curve. Okay. A concave production possibility curve, which is a typical production possibility curve, exhibits increasing opportunity costs. Increasing opportunity cost. All right, I'm going to explain this in a minute, but what is a production possibility curve? So a production possibility curve, by definition, this is actually a curve that shows the maximum number of goods and services that an economy can produce. It shows the maximum number of goods and services that an economy can produce when they are fully utilizing resources. Fully utilizing resources. It has to be a good here or a service. It has to be a good here or a service. It's showing goods and services. Some students make a mistake of putting price and quantity because when we go through demand and supply, we use price and quantity a lot, so they make that confusion. But there has to be goods here on both sides. So don't make that confusion. So it shows the maximum goods an economy produces when they are fully utilizing their resources. And we assume that the technology is fixed. They're utilizing fixed technology. If the technology changes, the whole thing changes. So the technology is fixed. Fixed technology. All right, we assume that. Hence, any point, let's say here, I'm going to call this point A, I'm going to call this point B, I'm going to call this point C, I'm going to call this point D. Even if it's at the corner there, any point along the production possibility curve is efficient. So point A, B, C, and D, all of them are efficient. What we are saying is the economy is fully utilizing the resources at its disposal. So all points that lie on the production possibility curve are efficient. If a point is inside, like let's say a point E here, this point is inefficient. Yes, an economy can produce inside its production possibility curve, but this is inefficient because the economy is not fully utilizing its resources. They can do better. They can produce here, but the economy can do better. What about if there's a point F outside? Think about it. What does this point represent? Just think about it based on the definition of a PPC. I'll give you 10 seconds. Yes, you got that right. This is unattainable. You cannot attain. Let me call this F. This is unattainable. This is unattainable because of the problem of scarcity. Remember, this is the maximum. So if you go beyond this, you can't attain this. You can't produce this. You have limited resources. You have a problem of scarcity. You cannot produce outside the production possibility curve unless there have been changes to our technology, for example. All right. So inefficient inside, unattainable outside, everything along the curve is efficient. If, for instance, this economy is producing 100,000 roses, if this 100,000 at point A, it means there are zero chocolate because this is the origin. If the economy moves to point B, they decide, no, we need to produce some chocolate because they realize some of the economic agents like chocolate. So they produce 50,000 chocolate. What would happen is they have to let go some of the roses. So in this instance, they'll produce 80,000 roses. Then they move from point B to point C, where they are now producing, say, 100. They produce 50 more chocolate, and in this instance, they let go more roses. Now they are producing 50,000, right? So what is happening in this instance is this. Let me use a different color so that you can see what I'm talking about. What is happening is that when they decide to produce 50 chocolate, they had to let go 20 roses. Then they say we want 100 now, which is another 50,000 chocolate. In this case now, they let go 80 minus 50, 30 roses. So the more chocolate they produce, the number of roses they have to let go is increasing, which is the way the increasing opportunity cost comes in. So make sure you understand this. The more chocolate they produce, in this case they produce 50 more and 50 more, but the number of roses they let go increased from 20 to 30, which means these resources were efficient in the production of roses, but because you want to produce more and more chocolate, you have to use more resources from the roses, which means you have to let go more and more and more of the roses as you produce chocolate, hence increasing opportunity cost. An alternative to this would be a production possibility curve that shows constant opportunity cost. Whenever they ask you to draw this production possibility curve, use this as the typical production possibility curve. You only draw this one if they are specific that they want you to show constant opportunity cost. So this would look something like this. And with constant opportunity cost, you have your roses here and you have your chocolate here. And then this could be 100 here. This could be 100 here. And what happens is, if you decide to produce 80, you can actually increase the production here to 30. And then if you go to 60 here, then here you're going to increase to 60 and so forth. So what you see from this case is this. When you produce 30 more chocolate, you let go 20 roses. And here it increases to 30 again. You also let go 20 roses. It doesn't change. The opportunity cost doesn't change. That's where the constant opportunity cost is coming from. You let go the same number of roses to produce the same number of chocolate. So this is constant opportunity cost. All right. Whenever you move from one point to another on a production possibility curve, you experience opportunity cost. You experience opportunity cost. So you experience opportunity cost. To produce more of one product, you have to let go some of the other product. All right. So think about this. At which point do you think that you can produce more of both goods? Think about it. Is it point A? Is it point B? Is it point E? Is it point F? At which point can you produce more of both goods if you are to move from one point to another? As long as you are on the production possibility curve, it's impossible to produce more of both goods. If you produce more of chocolate, you have to let go some roses. If you produce more of roses, you have to let go some of the chocolate. However, when you're inside the curve, you're inefficient. So this is the only point at which you can produce more of both goods. You move towards here. You are moving towards the curve, and you produce more roses. You produce more chocolate. You can produce more of both goods when you're coming from inside the curve. But when you're on the curve already, you experience opportunity cost. You have to let go some of the other good. All right. So make sure you understand that. Now, suppose that there has been a change in the technology that is used in the production of chocolate. Or let's assume that the technology that grows cocoa, which is used in the production of chocolate, has improved. What you're going to see is this. You have your roses here, and you have your chocolate here. If the technology only improves the production of chocolate, the production of roses are going to start from the same point. But for chocolate now, it's going to swivel outwards, and you have an increase in the production possibility of chocolate. This technology improves the production of chocolate because the growing of cocoa has become more efficient. However, if you say you have tractors that help with both the production of chocolate and roses, the entire economy will grow. You have roses here, you have chocolate here. So the entire economy will grow, and the entire production possibility curve is going to shift outwards. Your production possibilities increase, you have higher output. This is economic growth. So the entire economy will grow. If the opposite happens, where you have a famine or a disaster or whatever shocks you have to the economy, and the economy goes down, the economy can actually shrink. The production possibilities can actually shift in the opposite direction, where the economy experiences what we call a recession. All right. Finally, I want us to look at this exercise here. It's a very interesting exercise. It is one of those things that would dribble most students. So read through this quickly, and then we'll start this together in the next 30 seconds. All right. Let me use I think red color. Red is fine. Let me start with white. Anyway, so you have read this. You see that there's a maximum combination of houses and steel in thousands for this economy. The production possibility frontier is assumed to be concave. And remember, when they say concave, we assume increasing opportunity cost. We assume increasing opportunity cost. All right. If we assume increasing opportunity cost, what it means is that the production possibility curve has to be concave. I'm going to draw this curve to answer this. We want to know what the value of x is. Let me do this. Our houses in thousands are here, and our steel in thousands as well is here. We know that the production possibility has to be concave, but let's assume that it's linear. If it's linear, it's constant, it tends to scale, we are going to have a maximum of 100 houses. Then we draw a straight line, which means here, because this is the origin, and we are moving from 100 to 50 for houses, so this is 50, and so this is given as 75. Given as 75. Right. Now, if it's linear, it's constant, it tends to scale, which means here you let go 50, and here you're letting go 50 to go to 0. So this should be the same. This should be, if this is 75, it means this should also be 75, right? This should also be 75. So this has to be 150. Okay, that's when it's linear. But we are told it's concave. A concave cave is going to look like this. It should, the shape of the concave is that it bulges outwards and then it goes in like this. That's the shape of a concave, which means that the final answer is such that point X here has to be less than 150. So graphically, if you draw this, you must come, we don't know the exact value, but we know that it has to be less than 150. It has to be less than 150. All right. But let's think about this logically. We have this X here. We don't know what the amount is. But we know that concave exhibits increasing opportunity cost. If you increase your production of houses from 0 to 50, you have to let go a certain number of steel, which we are going to call A. We let go a certain number of steel, which we are going to call A. Are we together? All right. Yes, we are. And then moving from this point to this point, we let go. We produce 50, right? And then from this point to this point, it's another 50 that we are producing. But concave means increasing opportunity cost, which means here, this has to be, this is 75. We know it's given. This is 75. But it's increasing opportunity cost, which means our A, this A here, the change here, has to be less than 75. So the A has to be less than 75. The A has to be less than 75, right? But what we want is not A. What we want is X. And we know our A is X minus, it's X minus 75. That's how we get is less than 75. That's how we get the X. We put the X to the other side. So the X is less than 150. This is the answer. All right. This is increasing opportunity cost. This number has to be greater than this. So this A is less than 75. All right. And then you come to the same conclusion of X being less than 150. All right. A bit confusing, but that's the logic behind that. If you prefer doing it this way, it's fine. If you prefer doing it this way, also fine. Find a way that works for you and do that. But this question is a bit tricky and it's a bit challenging. Usually they're not going to ask you questions that, but you never know. But from my side, this is it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. For now, Mr. Mesh is out. Enjoy economics.